think one of your benefits is when you were picked to race with Bast on that LA Sprocket Irwindale team, because you were a good rider. I mean, there's no doubt you were up and coming and you were really, a hot rider. But that tutoring that Mike Bass gave you really kind of set you off. That was your big break, is having Mike Bass as your coach. And raising your level of racing, that level of the Bass level, that was your break, I think, in your young speedway life. Is that true?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's absolutely 100%. And traveling to Ventura, and we would stop on their way and get dinner and stuff. And I really listened to Mike a lot, and obviously he was so good that he was a true help to all of us. He really was, not just myself, but many other riders as well. He was great to us.
Well, you were really good in the team racing. I used to go watch you, and actually the LA Sprockets was my favorite team. I liked your team, and I was rooting for you guys. And you got second place. So he didn't win. The Bakersfield Bandits won, and I didn't like them as much. But you guys, you guys are good. You had Gene Woods. And then you had Rob Morrison. And you had some good riders there.
Yep. And we had a good team. Yeah.
It was solid. I mean, any team with like Mike Bass, Bruce Penhall, Gene Woods, that's a pretty good core right there. That's a good team.
It was good.
And you averaged like over 11 points on that particular team. That you were only racing 2 or 3 years, maybe a couple of years. And Mike, I guess they did like 4 races, so the max you could do was like 12 points. And then they would have the top point getter would have a main event, I guess, right? They would have like a main for the top guys. So you could get more than 12. You could get 15 total if you were in the main.
Then they went into what they call the second half, same in England, and you do a heat race, and then the top guy from those two would go into the final and be like the second half main event. Yeah. It didn't catch on real well with America as it did in England. But we had a lot of fun doing it, and we learned a lot, and we didn't know what team racing was all about, us, as young up and coming Yanks. But, Mike said, okay, Gene, you're going to go out of the best possible gate. And like Mike would take 2, Gene would take 4. And if Mike made a start, he'd look over his shoulder and let Gene get around him. I'm just saying, we learned how to team ride, and it certainly helped because we had a pretty good idea what to do, in Britain when we went over to race for our teams over there.
Yeah, perfect. You did really great. I was looking at one of the old programs just the other day, just checking it out, and your points was over 11 points, like 11.2 average per meet. And Mike Bass you were number 2 in the whole league. The whole league, this young guy right over here, was number 2. That was pretty amazing. And then Mike Bass was number 1 with 13.5 or something like that points. And so you and Mike were like number 1 and 2 in the whole league, not just your team, but the whole, all the riders. That's pretty amazing for a young guy like you being number 2 next to Bass.
it's how bad you want it. And like I said before, we really have to be focused. There's so many distractions in life, and I'm just saying with mine too, living at the beach, hanging out with girls, guys, so your mindset has to be, this is what I want. And I was also taught that, if I want to win, I have to give it 100% of my time, effort. And so I just knew I loved speedway. I dug riding motocross when I first started racing. My first motorcycle was a mini trail 50 with the fold down handlebars, and then I moved up to the 125 MX, but I wasn't a great motocrosser. I loved it. And then I can remember riding my bicycle home from school on the boardwalk on the beach. Little sand on the boardwalk. The only thing I wanted to do was just slide all the way home. I'd haul butt and make a slide. I wore out the left side of my rear tire like so many times because I couldn't turn and slide right very well, only left, So speedway was just, it was meant for me, and I was meant for it, back in the day. And, I look at a lot of riders that should have become world champion. I think Dennis Segalis is one. Injuries certainly hurt him. I look at Dave Jessup, an English rider that was very, very good, but had all sorts of trouble in the big night. Scott Autry's the same way. Scott, we learned a lot from Autry. We really did. When we first went over there and we started, racing for the U.S. team, and Scott was our captain, and he was very instructive, and he was so good to us, and we learned a great deal from him, and we listened. We really did, and when the Americans got together, man, we loved flying the flag, and we certainly did kick some ass. We really did. We had a good bunch of guys, Kelly and Sean and Preston and Siggy and Schwartzy, Autry, Gresham, Steve Gresham back in those days. Our World Team Cup was unbelievable